Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Productivity Enhancer. Today we're going to take a look at how we can mirror various components within an assembly. And specifically we're going to be using the mirror component control found in the assembly interface. And that's found right here, mirror components. So let's take a look at what we've got here. So I've got a part, looks like it's got 4 holes, and we need to have a washer on top of each one of these holes. So I have this washer, which I just grabbed from the library. Now typically for an instance like this, you'd probably use a pattern and just pattern this one around the corners of this part. But I want to show you how we can utilize the mirror component function in an assembly to accomplish basically the same thing. So let's take a look at what happens when we select mirror components. Select a face or plane to mirror about and the components to be mirrored. So we can only mirror about a face or a plane. We can't mirror about sketch entities or construction geometry. It has to be a face or a plane. So right now we don't have the planes that we need. So let's go ahead and create those. We're going to go up to reference geometry and create a plane. Let's ditch this one. We want to create a plane between this one and this one. And now we have a plane right in the center. And now let's go ahead and do the same for this side and this side. Okay, now we have that plane. Extend it through the whole part. So now once we have those two planes, we have plane 1 and plane 2, now we can mirror about those. So let's go up and grab our mirror component, and you can see we already have a plane selected. It's plane 2, so we can go ahead and use that. The component to mirror, we want this washer right here, and then we can just click OK, and that part gets mirrored onto the other side of that plane. Now we want to get these two, so we can do that all in one. Let's just go ahead and grab our mirror component again. For our mirror plane, we're going to grab that plane 1 this time, which is the one that travels this direction through the part. Our components to mirror, luckily, are already chosen, washer 2 and 3. We'll mirror it about this plane, and we should have 4 total washers. Now let's take a look here. We have mirror component. In mirror component 1, we have that 1 washer that we mirrored, so that's 1 over here in the corner. And then mirror component 2 is washers 4 and 5, the 2 that were created on that 1 instance. So pretty slick. Let's take a look at another part here. So I have this handlebar grip here. This is a lock-on handlebar grip for a bicycle handlebar. Right now this is the right hand grip, and I want to make an identical one on the other side. However, I want it to be truly mirrored. So let's take a look at our options here. Let's go up to mirror components again. Our mirror plane, I set this grip purposely off of the right plane so we could mirror about the right plane, so I'll select that. And the component to mirror, grip 1. Now let's click next and see what our other options are. So we can verify the orientation of the components being mirrored. So we have a couple different orientation options and a full preview over here. If we click through the reorientation options, you can see that it changes. And then we also have a bounding box center and a center of mass option that we can mirror about. I'm going to leave those for our next example. Right now let's take a look at creating an opposite hand version. Since this is specifically designed for a hand, this is the perfect instance. We'll just click that create opposite hand version, and you can see it's mirrored identically. So the short side of this diamond is facing out, just like on the right-handed part. We can go ahead and accept that, and we have a left hand and a right hand grip. You will notice that our appearance did not transfer over, like I had this collar here set to red and the diamond portion of this set to blue, and those appearances did not come over on the mirrored component, so you will have to adjust that independently. It's basically like creating a brand new feature that you have the ability to change the appearance and everything else. So that's a really easy way to create a right and left hand version of a part, if that's your intent. For our last example, I have this star here, and this is just a sheet metal part here. I've actually turned it into a weldment so I can get the bounding box. You can also see that I have a cut list as well, and that is where we get the bounding box. If we scroll down this tree, you can see we have a center of mass, and I've actually entered this center of mass on the part level. If for some reason your center of mass isn't showing up still, you can also go down and toggle it in the view center of mass here, and that'll show your center of mass. Now by doing that, you can see that our center of mass is really low on this part, and that's due to this large corner here. So the center of mass is not necessarily the center of the bounding box. So let's go up and mirror this component. For the mirror plane, let's just go ahead and use the right plane. Component to mirror is the star part. Let's walk through. Now automatically you can see that it mirrored it along that right plane here. And by default, you can see it's selected the bounding box center. Let's change it to center of mass. And you can see nothing quite happens when we leave it where it is. But let's toggle through some of these reorientation, and then you can see by selecting the bounding box center versus the center of mass, we get a different result. So based on bounding box conditions, the very top of this part will be at the very top and the very bottom will be at the same level as the very bottom. And when we select center of mass, you can see the centers of mass line up. So that's an important feature if you are mirroring a component based on its center of mass rather than its bounding box center. So we do have a few more options if we select create opposite hand version. So let's select that again, and you can see it brings it back to this orientation. But we get a next check, so we can click next. Now we have a few different options. We can create a new derived configuration in the existing files, or we can create a new file. I'm going to leave this one selected and create a new file. You can also add some prefixes if you want. The default is set to mirror, makes sense. Or you can place it in a specific folder if you'd like. I'm just going to leave everything as is though, and click next. And now we have all of these different properties that we can choose to or not to bring over to that mirrored part. For instance, you can see this unabsorbed sketch of the star in the center here. Let's go ahead and unselect that and unselect planes too, and just leave the solid bodies and click OK. So now when we go and take a look at that mirrored component, it's that mirrored star, but nothing has carried over from that other part. So what we can do is we can edit that, click through until we get to that page with all of the transfer properties. Now when we select planes and unabsorbed sketches, click OK. Now you can see that those unabsorbed sketches and the planes show up in our mirrored part. We've got 7 planes here, and we have that sketch right there. So you really get a whole lot of control with this mirror components feature. It's a great way to duplicate parts that you know are going to be identical to current parts that you already have. So that's the mirror components tool in an assembly in SolidWorks. I hope it's been helpful. Thanks for watching this week's Productivity Enhancer. Until next time.